Hi guys, Ian here again. Now we're going to look at factorising again, except this time we're going to be looking at factorising quadratic expressions, expressions which have an x squared term as the highest term. So now the factors of an expression are expressions which can be multiplied together to give you that expression. So when we're factorising an expression like a quadratic expression, you're just writing it as a multiple of those factors. So if you consider a quadratic expression like this one, we have x squared plus a plus bx plus a times b. When we factorise this, we're just going to write it as a multiple of two expressions. Now a and b are just numbers, where this a and this a are the same number, and this b and this b are the same number. And if you've seen the video I've done on multiplying out brackets 2, you'll see you'll remember this expression as being the multiple of these two brackets, so it would be x plus a times by x plus b. So basically, when you're multiplying out brackets, you start from an expression like this, or these two factors, and you'll expand them out into this expression here, this quadratic expression at the top. And when you're factorising the quadratic expression, you're just putting it back into the brackets. So you'll notice that this number at the end is this a here times by this b here, and this is a plus b. This a here times by plus this b here is the coefficient of x. So so when you're factorising, you're looking for two numbers, a and b, which multiply together to give you the number at the end and add together to give you the coefficient of x. If we look at a basic example to see what I mean, probably the simplest example is going to be this: x squared plus 2x plus 1. Now we're going to look for two numbers which multiply together to give 1 and add together to give 2. And we're going to write them in this form, so it's going to be x plus something times by x plus something else. Now, two numbers which multiply together to give you 1 is either going to be 1 times by 1 or minus 1 times by minus 1. Now don't forget the minus ones as well, because they're very important in this. Not in this particular example, but generally when you're doing these you will use minus numbers at some point. So they need to add together to give us positive 2. So 1 plus 1, well, minus 1 plus minus 1 is minus 2. So 1 plus 1 is positive 2. So it's going to be x plus 1 times by x plus 1, which, if you simplify that, is going to equal x plus 1 squared. If we look at a slightly more complicated example, x squared plus 10x, say, plus 21. Now what I always do is you start by looking at the factors. Start by looking for the factors of 21, the number at the end, purely because there's always going to be less factors here than there are going to be numbers that add together to give you this one, this coefficient. So you're better off starting there, because you're going to have less numbers to play with, less numbers to figure out. So if we look at the factors for 21, it's going to be 1 times by 21 equals 21, or 3 times by 7 equals 21, or minus 1 times by minus 21, or minus 3 times by minus 7. Now they need to add together to give positive 10, so that rules out the minus numbers straight away. 1 plus 22, 1 plus 21 is 22, which only leaves 3 plus 7, which equals 10. So the answer is going to be x plus 3 times by x plus 7. Look at another example which involves a minus sign this time. X squared plus 2x minus 8. Now this time it's a minus here, so we need to find numbers that multiply together to give us minus 8. So it's going to be 1 times by minus 8 gives us minus 8, or minus 1 times by 8 gives us minus 8, or minus 2 times by 4 gives us minus 8, or minus 4 times by 2, or 2 times by minus 4. And it's going to be in this form, x plus something times by this time x minus something. So we need to add together to give us 2. So 1 plus minus 8 is going to give us minus 7, so that's no good. Minus 1 plus 8 is going to give us plus 8, plus 7, so that's no good. Now minus 2 plus 4 is the right answer, because 4 plus minus 2 equals positive 2, and minus 2 times 4 gives us minus 8, so that's the right answer. So it's going to be plus 4 minus 2. Now, if we look at an example where the coefficient is negative, x squared minus 12 plus 11. Now, again, always start by looking at the factors of the number at the end. So it's going to be 1 times by 11. 11 is a prime number, so it's only going to be 1 times by 11, or minus 1 times by minus 11. We have to add together to give a minus number this time. So the positive numbers are excluded. They're no good. So we're going to have, this time it's going to be x minus 1 times by x minus 11. So that's the basics of it. They don't have to be, I mean, here we've used a and b have always been whole numbers. They don't necessarily have to be whole numbers. Just most of the examples you're going to see in sort of GCSE papers and that level of education are going to be, they're likely to be whole numbers. But you may come across some where they aren't. I'll give a quick couple of examples. I mean, they can be fractions or sort of irrational numbers. They can have pi in them or whatever. But if we look at some examples quickly. So this one's going to use a third, so it's going to be x plus 2 root 2x. X squared plus 2 root 2x plus 2. Now that looks a lot more complicated. Namely because of the root 2 expression. So we get a sort of clue here that they're going to have to add together to give root. You're going to have two numbers which add together to give 2 times by the square root of 2, and then have to times together to give 2. So we know that 2 root 2 is root 2 plus root 2, and also we know that the square root of 2 times by the square root of 2 equals 2, just by definition of the square root. So for example, the square root of 9 is 3, so 3 times by 3 equals 9. So here we're going to get x plus root 2 times by x plus root 2, which equals x plus root 2 squared. With that one, it's a lot harder to look at the factors. You need to look for clues from, because I mean obviously that's not going to be a whole number. So I mean if they're both whole numbers, then you start looking at the factors of that one. But if they're not, if that's an irrational, if you have a third here, then you need to use that as a clue for what you're going to look for and multiply together to give the last expression, the last term even. There can be fractions. For example, x squared plus I don't know, 7 over 2x plus 3 over 2. Same thing, we need two numbers which multiply together to give us 3 over 2 and add together to give us 7 over 2. Now 3 over 2 is equal to 3 times by a half, 3 times by 1 over 2. 7 divided by 2 is 3 and a half, which is 3 plus a half. So here we have 3 times by a half. Here we have 3 plus a half. So it's going to equal x plus 3 times by x plus a half. I think, yeah. X plus a half. But you're probably not going to see many of those, and if you feel possessed to practice them, then go for it. Yeah, but that's about it. Now, if you don't understand those or any other like mathematical concepts which are quite important in maths, and you need tuition, then I actually offer Skype tuition. So be doing it from the comfort of your own computer. We chat over Skype and stuff. You tell me what problems you're struggling with, and I'll help you out with them. So if that at all interests you or anything else, just drop me an email. My email address is down there. But until next time.